Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. So happy to have you here today because, it's a good day to have a good day. In this episode, we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about, what we usually talk about, and that's real estate. Specifically, it's usually about the buying process, and we're going to do that again today. While it is true that we're in a challenging market because of low inventory, higher interest rates, etc., there are things that we can do to improve our chances of ultimately finding the home and owning it. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode. A lot of the content has to do with being open minded and understanding where we're at. Like I said, it's challenging, and that means we have to go into that with that expectation. And more importantly, when necessary, if we're able to do so, we need to adapt, maybe switch things up and try something new to achieve our goal of finding a home. So to really get into this episode, we need to talk a little bit about the process of buying a home. So if you're a first-time home buyer, second-time home buyer, or looking for your retirement home, I'm going to recommend that we meet and have a quick consultation to really deep dive into understanding your needs and ultimately the strategies we're going to use to help you find a home. One of the things that we're going to cover in that consultation is a market report. Prior to our meeting, it's very likely that we will have discussed, your price range, what areas you're looking at, any features that you're looking for in a home. Using that information, I'm going to do a search and take a look at what's out there. So one, you have that expectation up front of what's available. And in many scenarios, especially if it's more specific, you'll probably see at this point in time, what's the date today? March 21st of 2024, that there isn't a ton on the market. So first of all, it's great to know that, right? We want to set expectations up front, and we want to do that as early as possible. So you know what you're getting into. But once we have a little bit more information, we're going to set up a search for you. Now, let's say we're a month into it and you haven't seen anything that you like. Well, again, one of the big problems, like I had mentioned, is that there's so little inventory on the market right now. But sometimes the other reason could be because what we're hoping for, whether that's the features, whether that's the price, whether that's the location, maybe what we're looking for isn't reflected in the market. So let me give you an example. My folks have been looking for a home for a long time. Actually, they're going to be closing in about a week's time. So that's really exciting. But originally, they were looking at buying a ranch home in this area on a couple acres, typical house that many people are looking for, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a basement. That was their original plan. Well, in the price point of what they wanted to spend, that wasn't necessarily available in this area in Heartland, Brighton, Howell. So what they did is they expanded their search. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. So this is really what I'm getting at. If it's not reflected in the market, if we're not seeing it ever, then we need to ask ourselves why we're not seeing it. Again, maybe it's because of the market condition, the overall market condition with there being so little inventory, but it's possible that we have to make adjustments for our search. So maybe, as an example, you want to buy a home for $250,000 to $300,000. That's the price point you're looking at, and you're looking at a home in Heartland schools in a neighborhood. A lot of those homes are, if they're in a popular neighborhood, are going for above $300,000 right now. That's just where we're at. So if what we're looking for doesn't align, then we need to change something up. We need to expand our options if we're going to continue with this goal of finding you a home. Here are 3 ways that we can make adjustments to your plan to help you find a home. Again, all of these are intended to help you find a home and build wealth. So the first area, and I'll talk about my parents in this example, is to expand the area of where we would like to buy. Obviously, there are going to be times where this isn't necessarily feasible. Maybe you want to be in a certain school district, you want to be a certain distance from your work, a certain distance from family and friends, whatever. But sometimes if you're able to just expand the area of where you would like to own a home in, the possibilities open up pretty pretty drastically. So like I said, my parents have been looking for several years on and off. There were very few homes that fit their mold, what they wanted and what they were willing to spend. It didn't really happen a whole lot in this area in Livingston County. So, what's the takeaway from this? Real estate markets are extremely localized, meaning what you may get from one subdivision to the very next subdivision could be pretty drastic. Here's what my parents did. They ended up expanding their search. So, I mean, it got to a point where we were looking all throughout the state, up into the middle of the state, over into the Ludington area, down to the Hillsdale area. And what they were willing to spend, what didn't really change. I mean, it ended up going up quite a little bit, but it didn't change too drastically. Their price point stayed the same, but what they were able to find was quite a bit different, right? Like I said earlier, they were looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, basement, couple acres. Well, the house that they're going to be closing on has quite a bit more than that. It's 3 bedrooms, only a bath. So I guess, they're going to be adding that in later on. But it has 10 acres and a very, very nice pole barn. So by expanding their search, they were able to actually get more at their price point. So that's always a possibility. If you're able to do so, I think opening that up will be beneficial. The second thing you can do is increase your budget. Very, very plain and simple, but this is probably one of the things that I would say you'd be willing to try first if you had the financial means to do it. Maybe the number you set at the very top is what you can work with and you can't do any more. Then, ultimately that's the financial decision that you have to make. Maybe it's just the position you're in. But if you're able to do so, it sometimes opens up your options. So specifically, there are a couple clients that I'm working with, and we haven't seen a whole lot lately. And when I went on Zillow the other day, I ended up just bumping up their budget $10,000. So kind of went to the next price point and saw several homes that they are now interested in, and we're actually going to take a look at them in the next few days. Maybe if you do that, you get lucky. If you, let's say you're looking at homes from 250 to 280 price range and you end up bumping it up to 300, well, maybe you find a house that was originally listed at 325, but the sellers are really motivated. They're looking to get out of there fast, and it's been sitting on the market for a month, so they just dropped it from 325 to 300, right? That's a possibility. Now, I'm not saying it's some magical cure-all that's going to start, you're going to see a ton of homes all of a sudden, but sometimes it opens your options, and sometimes the difference in homes can be drastic if you increase your price point a little bit. So if it gives you something to work with, then maybe it's worth exploring. The last point I want to talk about is critical. And I think it's especially relevant for this market that we're in. I got to be upfront with you. No house is perfect. And if it is, there's a good chance that a lot of other people think it's perfect too, and they're going to be going after it as well. As I had mentioned earlier, almost everybody, including myself, would like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch with a basement. It's very popular, it's very sought after, and it draws a lot of attention. So here is what I would recommend, or what I would say to that. Sometimes specificity is good, but sometimes it can hurt you. There's not a lot on the market to begin with. So when you're looking for something more specific, you're narrowing it down even more. So if there's not a lot out there at all, and then you say, hey, I need this, then your chances of finding a home are going to be reduced even more. So I think really think about what you absolutely need and what you could maybe forego for right now and put in later, or look for in your next home. Don't limit your search if you could actually go without it. Let's say there's a house that has everything you're looking for: attached garage, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, but it's only a partially finished basement when you wanted a full. Well, again, like I said, the chances of finding a home like that uh, may be slim. And if another one pops up, again, it's probably going to draw a lot of interest. So think about this. Is it better to have a house that has most of the features you're looking for and could be added to later, or possibly not have a house at all? That's a question you have to answer for yourself, but I would suggest asking yourself that. So changing that search a little bit, maybe if you started out specific, maybe get a little more broad, it'll help you out. And again, it might open up some possibility. I think in this case, having a soft line versus a hard line, it's better. Flexibility, it does help in this case. So those are the 3 things that I wanted to talk about in this episode. So again, you can expand the area of where you could live, you could increase your budget, or you could give and take on certain features. I think doing those things is helpful. If you're on Zillow, or if you have a search set up for you, just mess around with it a little bit and see what happens. It might help you out and ultimately get you in the home that you're looking for. So thank you for tuning into this episode. I hope it brought you value. That's my goal with all of these episodes. I have a hard time not being repetitive at the beginning and the end of these episodes. I've done a lot of other podcasts in the past, so it's easy to just say the same stuff. So I do apologize about that. But anyways, I'm rambling once again. Thank you for tuning into this episode. I hope you have a great week, weekend, whatever your time frame is. Enjoy your day. Take care, and God bless.